Gut health is not as simple as one probiotic. It is very nuanced, is what my guest today said. Gut health and stress are intricately intertwined. In today's episode, we answer three key questions. Why are women at higher risk for autoimmunity? What is the connection between autoimmunity and sleep? What are 5 top ways women can heal from autoimmunity and sleep challenges? Divya Dhawan is a national board certified functional and holistic health coach, mother of 2 smart kids, pet mom, and a wife. Her toughest life moments are also her biggest teachers. When she was diagnosed with Sjogren syndrome and doctors told her that she could only manage her disease with no cure, she paved her own healing path by going the holistic route, which led her to remission, and it has been 10 years now. She now has a deep passion for helping people bounce back from autoimmune disorders. Let's get started. Hey everyone, I'm Deepa, light functional medicine practitioner, author, and yogini, and you're listening to the Sleep Whisperer podcast, the only sleep podcast with conversations and meditations. I'm on a mission to share profoundly insightful sleep conversations with global visionaries that merge together functional medicine and ancient wisdom. Breathe in bliss through weekly guided meditations and let yourself enter the land of dreams. Together, let's unravel the pieces, get to the roots, and understand the right tools to transform your sleep completely. Through this podcast, I want you to dream the best version of yourself. It's time to regain hope and begin your sleep journey. Divya, welcome to the Sleep Whisperer podcast. Today we're talking about stress, gut health, and autoimmunity, a topic that I've covered several times with different nuances to it, and obviously it's such an important area that it needs to be looked at from multiple perspectives and so many viewpoints of different practitioners based upon their own personal journey and their area of specialization. And I know that you've had your personal struggles in the direction of autoimmunity. Maybe if we could just get started understanding what brought you into this area, and then we can dive specifically into how stress and gut health play a role in both the development of autoimmunity and whether we can allow our body on the healing journey to improve based upon how we support these areas.
Yeah, definitely. And thank you so much for having me on your podcast today, Deepa. I would love to talk about my story. So I was diagnosed with Sjogren syndrome, which is an autoimmune disorder in which all the dry glands start drying out. The wet glands in the body start drying out. So that entails the eyes, the mouth, the nose, and many other parts in the body, along with joint pains, muscle aches, all sorts of things happen along, because it never happens that one autoimmune disorder happens on its own. It's always comes with others, if not immediately, then subsequently. But that is what I was diagnosed with, and the only answers that I got after my diagnosis, which also took some time, was that there is no cure for autoimmunity, so I really cannot cure it, so I have to live with it, and I can only manage my symptoms. I do have a background a little bit in Ayurveda from an understanding point of view, not from a practitioner point of view. But my mom, when I was probably in the 9th grade, I remember her having very severe rheumatoid arthritis. And she also had, deforming of her fingers at that point, and no answers for her as well. And so she resorted to Ayurveda. And then she was eventually able to not just defeat rheumatoid arthritis, but also her deformed fingers actually came back to normal, and which was a huge awakening of kind for me, because that really helped me navigate my way through the diagnosis that I got for Sjogren syndrome eventually when I was like 10 years ago, when I was left with no answers. So then that is how I started looking into Ayurveda. I started looking into holistic methods of how I can heal my body, and then also not really cure, but at least heal my body. So I was able to do that, and I am in remission since 10 years now, and that really fuels my passion to work with women who have autoimmunity, have Sjogren's, because they also are given the same answers, that there is no cure for autoimmunity and you only have to manage it. And it's really disheartening, knowing that our body is so resilient and it can heal itself. Given the right conditions, I want more and more people to know about it and to understand that our body can heal. So that's really my passion, and that's what fuels my work. Yeah.
So am I understanding, Divya, that your work is specifically in the direction of women? Because then I think I'd love to talk more women specific today, in terms of course, we know women have so much greater risk for autoimmunity. So maybe we could get started talking about what is stress for women, like what are types of stress, because a lot of times I come across people who say I don't have any stress. So sometimes they're looking at stress only as something bad happening in their lives, and they say, no, my life is perfect. So I'd love to go into those nuances, because I think as women we are always faced with so many subtle stress.
Yeah, absolutely. And stress can be multifaceted. It could be internal stress, which means that when your body is lacking nutrients. It could be exposure to pathogens like H. pylori, which can be in the digestive tract, or parasites inside the intestines, which are stealth, and we most of the times not even are able to figure out that we have those. So those are internal stressors. Something like mold exposure are also internal stressors, but then external stressors are those which come from the outside. So mental stress, emotional stress, and then physical stress also is something that is real, and we shouldn't ignore that. And for women, because we are the caregivers and we are caring for the entire family, and almost always, I see this with almost every woman, that we don't care for ourselves, and we don't really put our needs before any other person's need in our life. So it really puts us at a risk of not realizing when we are in stress, because we are going about with our daily life so like organically, that stress just comes and goes and we don't even realize that it came or it is still there. So even the daily stress of getting up in the morning, making the lunch ready for the kids, or the husband, or doing chores for the household, can be stressful. And when this stress keeps building on for years and years together, that is when it becomes chronic stress, and that is when it becomes a problem. Because as long as we have stress, and then we are able to bounce back from it. So when we have in that most stressful moment, that is really a fight and flight response that we have, that your blood is pumping into all the organs, your heart is beating fast, you're feeling a surge of energy inside of you suddenly. So that is a fight and flight mode in which you can function, and you're able to function. But and I've noticed that with my clients, with myself, with my family members, that in that moment, there is surge of energy, but as soon as that that moment ends, there is a sudden drop of energy too. So that was stress. That was definitely stress. And so now what happens with stress is, and many people are so used to stress because that is how they know that they can function properly, because our bodies are designed in that way, right? So when we have high stress, our body can function properly, because that is how the whole stress response is built for all of us. So we sometimes also get used to the stress that we have in life, and we feel like, oh, there's no stress, I can work with it, right? But that doesn't mean necessarily that that's good for the body, because physiologically what happens inside of us is that the stress hormone cortisol becomes chronically high. And when the cortisol becomes chronically high, it starts breaking down the body, because its function is to make us able to deal with that external stressor that we are being faced with. Its job is not to build our body. It's not to enhance our digestive functions. It's not to enhance our hormonal functions, any of those. It's just one job, and that is to help us deal with the stress that we have on hand. So because of that, when that happens, our body starts breaking down. Eventually, when there's chronic stress, there's chronic high cortisol in our body. And when I say breaking down, means like when you are having joint pains, when you have chronic fatigue, you have start having dry eyes, dry mouth. Those are the things which you don't want happening, and that can happen with chronic high cortisol, and that is because of stress. And that is how that relationship between stress and all those symptoms, you can make it out.
And I think you made a very pertinent point, Divya, about how I have come across people who've told me that I mean, what's wrong in using that stress, because I find that's when I'm at my most creative, my most productive. And you're hearing more and more stories of people who are passing away at 40 of a sudden heart attack when they've had lives of high productivity and high stress. And I think you brought that attention to that very important point. And I'd love to talk about gut health. And again, a little nuanced here, that recently, you come across, there's so many probiotic companies, and pretty much every day on social media, you're seeing ads running all the time. It's the magical bullet to all disease and all symptoms. Now, I know as more integrative practitioners that we understand that there's never a magic bullet, that not one thing can fix everything. And I'd love to know that, obviously, it's not as simple as taking one probiotic and being the answer to everything, but how can we understand that we have gut issues by ourselves? Do we need testing? And once we understand what are the steps that are required, is it as simple as just one probiotic?
So it's definitely not as simple as one probiotic, for sure, because it's very nuanced, because it is very delicate balance that is created inside our body. So again, going back to stress, when stress is chronically high, that creates a lot of histamines in our body. So if you are seeing a lot of food sensitivities or environmental sensitivities, or even like seasonal sensitivities, seasonal allergies, that is a sign that your gut health is compromised. And things like allergies, hormone imbalance happening in women, especially with PCOS and PCOD and endometriosis, all those on the rise constantly. That is something also that is a sign of bad gut health, compromised gut health. Then apart from that, there are some silent signs like silent reflux, which means that you're constantly coughing and you don't know why. And that is because there is acid reflux, but you're not able to realize there is. That is also a sign of bad gut health. And as I said, gut health is really nuanced. So for me, the first step is, and most people who have bad gut health also have acid reflux, right? So I tend to lean towards more holistic solutions. So when I have acid reflux, and I do also have acid reflux at times, so I tend to go to more natural solutions for that, instead of going with the PPIs, which have now been proven to cause in the long term even things like colon cancer and stuff. So you don't want that happening to you. And it also opens up the gate to many pathogens attacking your digestive system, which you do not want, because if you do not have a robust and good acid environment in your stomach, then many pathogens can start growing there, because the whole reason of that pH being so low in the stomach is that we are able to digest food properly and also kill the pathogens that come with the food, because every food, whether vegetarian or animal based, does have pathogens in it. And the function of stomach is to kill it. So that is one thing that people can do to stop using PPIs and start using some natural solutions like fennel, coriander, and ajwain tea. That's a very good solution to reduce acid reflux. Even if you can get good high quality peppermint oil, I use doTERRA oil, so that is what I will recommend. So using that like 2 drops in the morning, 2 drops in the evening. That's all you need to, give your gut some relief from acid reflux. But apart from that, the steps you should be taking, and I touched upon the ways you can find out that you have gut health issues. So those are something that you can understand knowing your symptoms. But definitely there are some gut health testing that can be done, which can dig deeper into how your gut health is and whether you really need, and that will also determine what kind of support you need for the gut health, right? So you can definitely get that done from any integrative practitioner like you, probably, or a functional practitioner like me. We do gut health tests, which can determine where your gut health is at, and then support it accordingly, because everyone's needs are different. So someone might need more probiotics, someone else might need pathogen eradication, someone else would need parasite eradication, right? So everyone is not the same, and you cannot have the same cookie cutter approach for everyone. So and what they can do immediately is, as I said, stop using PPI medications. In terms of probiotics, the best thing is to actually do something like curd, or natural probiotics like kimchi, which is very, very potent, apple cider vinegar, or sauerkraut, things like those. Especially in India, the homemade pickles are really good lacto-fermented probiotics. And of course, we are supposed to eat them in very small quantities, not too much, but that also helps with the gut health. So.
And since we are on a podcast of sleep, Divya, I think we must bring this attention to sleep a little bit now. That I'd like
Absolutely.
to talk finally about the connection between autoimmunity and sleep, and whether, that I shared recently with somebody that I knew a woman who, she lived in a home where she had a father-in-law, husband, and 2 sons. So she was the only woman. And she would always say that I don't get to bed before midnight because I have to get everything ready for the next day. And she'd be up by 4:30 or 5 to do meditation. And I'd always caution her about getting such little sleep. And then when she was hardly 48 or 50, she was diagnosed with ovarian cancer and passed away in a month after that. And of course, this is cancer, but I'm pretty positive that there's a deep connection in the autoimmune direction as well. And women do tend to neglect sleep a lot in this effort to do everything for everybody around. So could we talk a little bit about sleep, autoimmunity, and women's health? And then wrap up the episode with maybe 5 top takeaways for women to support their autoimmune journey and improve sleep and their overall health.
Yeah, absolutely. So sleep not just has a huge connection with autoimmunity, it also has a huge connection with our overall health, because when we sleep, and actually there is an entire, if you really just Google it, there's something called the Ayurveda clock, body clock, in which you can actually find what the body does in the night when we are sleeping. So I think around 3 to 4 a.m. is the time when the liver gets, repaired, lymphatic system gets repaired, the brain gets repaired, our heart gets repaired, our skin gets repaired. All of those functions happen when we're sleeping. So if we are not giving importance to the sleep that we need, what is really happening is that we are not repairing properly, right? So when we don't repair properly, our body is now prone, because those old cells that cannot function properly are bound to get easily infected or cause mutations in them, and then things like cancer can happen. But I mean, this is not to scare anyone, but it's just that sleep is very, very important. And I have seen a huge connection between people, between the sleep and autoimmunity in people who have autoimmunity, because they have dysregulated circadian rhythms. So they'll be very sleepy by like 9, but when they go to bed at 10, they've lost all their sleep. And that is because their cortisol is high. And when the cortisol is high, the interesting thing that also happens is that melatonin, which is the hormone which actually puts us to sleep, is very low, which should be high normally in this, if we have a balanced circadian rhythm. that does not happen with such people. And so if you're not able to sleep properly, your body cannot repair. And when we cannot repair, everything and every system will go for a toss. And so that is how, that cycle keeps going on and on and on, because when we cannot sleep, our body is again in stress. There's again cortisol that is high. So that kind of, feeds that negative feedback loop and keeps going on. Apart from that, we do feel very hungry when I have experienced that, and I've experienced that in my clients, that when you are not able to get good quality sleep, the next day you will have sugar cravings, because your body wants sugar to at least calm down that stress that you're having. And that is also because dysregulation of the ghrelin and leptin hormones in the gut, because of lack of sleep. So sleep controls everything, and it's high time we actually start putting some importance to sleep, because sleep, in this modern day, with all the blue lights that we have around us all the time, even in night, sleep disruptions are very common. But then if we understand what is causing the sleep disruption and work towards it, build a nighttime routine, not look at blue screens at least 1 hour before we go to sleep, have those blue light blocking glasses on, have a very comfortable and calming environment in your bedroom where you can just wind down before you go to sleep. That can really help with actually getting good quality sleep. And also making sure that you get at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep, because we need that. And there's no shame in accepting that. I've seen this with many people, really. In the modern society, we do not put that importance to sleep, because anyone who wants to sleep more is considered as ye to buddha ho gaya. So that's a very I think it's even if, like, I remember I saw one of those videos the other day of Anushka Sharma, the actress. And she was like, and someone was asking her, what is your secret? What is the secret for your beauty and for your fitness? And she's like, I go to sleep at 9. So, and get up at, 5 or 6, whichever time, so that she gets that good quality sleep where the body can repair itself. And that also slows down aging, by the way, for women.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm so glad to see people in such positions of power sharing such good information about sleep, because most often you hear the reverse, and then you're always wondering, I mean, somebody who has a lot of influence should be sharing such things, that sleep is important.
Absolutely.
So let's wrap it up by bringing us to 5 top steps that you use for some of your women clients who struggle with different autoimmune challenges. And where would you begin? How would you navigate it? And your top 5 takeaways.
Yeah. So first of all, stress. It's very important to manage the stress, because we cannot get away from stress, but we have to manage the stress. So things like meditation, Tai Chi, yoga are really helpful. Apart from that, things like EFT, tapping, that is also very helpful. And changing your perspective on stress is something that you can also do. Sometimes we are stressed with, challenges that we face, but those could be like moments where we could change our perspective and, like, maybe I could do better because of this challenge that I faced. Just an example. So that is something that can be done. Work on your digestion. Give up GMO foods. That's a huge thing in the Western world, at least. I'm not sure how much of that is prevalent in India now, but we know that a lot of pesticides are used everywhere in the world now. So as far as possible, start eating organic produce from local farmers and seasonal food. That really helps to give the body some balance and also the nutrients that we need. And don't use proton pump inhibitors, use natural solutions. There are many out there. As I said, I mentioned one of them. There are many solutions out there. And if your listeners want, they can always reach out to me for that. I'm happy to share. Apart from that, put a lot of importance to sleep, because that is when your body repairs. And also when you sleep, your stress will come down. When you sleep well, your digestion will improve. You will not have cravings, your hormones will balance out. So everything happens when we sleep properly and get good quality sleep. So do that. Yeah, those are the top takeaways that I have for your listeners. Yeah.
And where can people find you, Divya, if they want to specifically? Do you work only with a specific condition or all autoimmunity?
No, I work with all autoimmune conditions. My focus had been Sjogren's because I myself had Sjogren's, but now I have expanded it to all kinds of autoimmunity. And I always say with women, I work with women, but I actually also work with men. It's just that women are more affected with autoimmunity because of the hormonal conditions that, the amount of hormonal changes that we have throughout the menstrual cycle, that makes us, I think, more prone to all kinds of autoimmunity. Plus the societal conditioning that we have of being the caregiver and not caring for ourselves. I think that also puts some pressure of that to us. But I work with men and women, and I can be found on Instagram. My handle is Divya Dhawan underscore nutrition, and I can also be found on LinkedIn as well as on Facebook. And my page is called Sjogren Solution, so I can be found there. Yeah, if someone wants to book a call with me, I offer a free health strategy session as well. And that can be found on my website, www.sjogrensolution.com. And they can also reach me through Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn as well.
Any final words, Divya, for the audience to wrap up autoimmunity and sleep?
Yeah, absolutely. Because autoimmunity and even the lack of sleep in this modern day is really a modern day lifestyle health issue. If we start taking care of our lifestyle the way our ancestors did, especially in India, I think we will be able to conquer the autoimmunity, and then also able to sleep properly, and then able to and give our body that opportunity to start healing itself.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time, Divya. And maybe at some point we'll have you back to talk more specifically about rheumatoid arthritis or because I do see it's also very prevalent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. It was my pleasure, and absolutely, I would love to do that again.
Understanding predispositions can be key to preventing any metabolic disease. In my book, How to Sleep Better, the Miraculous 10-Step Protocol to Recharge Your Mind and Body by HarperCollins, I go into how you can rebalance your whole body using functional medicine, Ayurveda, and yoga. I have guided practices to restore balance within my healing digestion and blissful sleep courses, which you can get at www.ohahealth.com. Have a great day. This podcast is intended to provide helpful and informative material on the subject matter covered in the episodes. The podcast is not acting in the capacity of a doctor or a registered dietitian and is not rendering any professional healthcare or medical service. The information in the podcast is not intended as a substitute for medical advice or services or as treatment or cure for any particular health condition. The advice and tools contained herein may not be suitable for your situation. Any medical questions regarding contraindications and cautions, or any questions on whether or not to proceed with any practices provided in the show should be referred to qualified health professionals before adopting the same. The podcast specifically disclaims any responsibility for any liability, loss, risk, personal or otherwise, which may be incurred as a direct or indirect consequence of the use of information from this podcast or the application, adoption of any of the information provided.